We will continue with 412. काङ्क्षता कर्मणां सिद्धिं यजन्ता इह देवता क्षिप्रं हि मानुषे लोके सिद्धिर्भवति कर्मजा. Men in this world desire success in fruitive activities, and therefore they worship the demigods. Quickly, of course, men get results from fruitive work in this world. There is a great misconception about gods, demigods of this material world. And men of less intelligence, all the passing spirit scholars, take these demigods to be various forms of the Supreme God. Actually, the demigods are not different forms of God, but they are different, they are God's different parts and parcels. God is one, and the part and parcels are many. The Vedas say Nityo Nityanam, God is one. Ishvaraha Parama Krishna. The Supreme God is one, Krishna, and the demigods are delegated powers to manage this material world. These demigods are all living entities, Nityanam, with different grades of material power. They cannot be equal to the Supreme God Narayan, Vishnu, or Krishna. Anyone who thinks that the God and demigods are on the same level is called an atheist or a Pashandi. Even the great demigods like Brahma and Shiva cannot be compared to the Supreme God. In fact, the Lord is worshipped by the demigods such as Brahma and Shiva. Shiva Virinchinunam. Yet curiously enough, there are many human leaders who are worshipped by the foolish men under the misunderstanding of anthropomorphism or zoomorphism. Iha Devata donates a powerful man or demigod of this material world. But Narayan, Vishnu, or Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, does not belong to this world. He is above or transcendental to material creation. Even Sripad Shankaracharya, the leader of the impersonalists, maintains that Narayana or Krishna is beyond this material creation. However, foolish people, Dhritagyana, worship the demigods because they want immediate results. They get the results but do not know that results so obtained are temporary and are meant for less intelligent persons. The intelligent person is in Krishna consciousness and he has no need to worship the paltry demigods for some immediate temporary benefit. The demigods of this material world as well as their worshippers will vanish with the annihilation of this material world. The boons of the demigods are material and temporary. Both the material worlds and their inhabitants, including the demigods and their worshippers, are bubbles in the cosmic ocean. In this world, however, human society is mad after temporary things, such as the material opulence of possessing land, family, and enjoyable paraphernalia. To achieve such temporary things, people worship the demigods or powerful men in human society. If a man gets a ministership in the government by worshipping a political leader, he considers that he has achieved a great boon. All of them are therefore no towing to the so-called leaders or big guns in order to achieve temporary boons, and they indeed achieve such things. Such foolish men are not interested in Krishna consciousness for the permanent solution to the hardships of material existence. They are after they are all after sense enjoyment, and to get a little facility for sense enjoyment, they are attracted to worship empowered living entities known as demigods. This verse indicates that people are rarely interested in Krishna consciousness. They are mostly interested in material enjoyment, and therefore they worship some powerful living entity. So the demigod worship, the principle of demigod worship highlights the uh, the principle of demigod worship highlights the aspect of obsession for material. Uh, it highlights the aspect of obsession for material objects. Therefore, it is described actually that the demigod worshippers, they are actually not worshipping anyone. They are after they are not worshipping anyone actually. They are after satiation, and whatever drives their ends, they are they are ready to do that. They are ready to go behind such a person. Whatever drives their ends, whatever suits their purpose, they are ready to go after such a person. So, so it is this consciousness which the Lord is highlighting here, the consciousness of obsession towards material satiation. That for the sake of a little sense enjoyment, the person is ready to worship anyone to any extent, and the purpose is suited, the person will not take a nanosecond also to forget about the person. This is the whole meaning of, or we can say this is the whole setting of demigod worship actually. So we can understand demigod worship is at best a concession. demigod worship is at best a concession. Or we can say that for those who are blinded by material enjoyment, demigod worship becomes a help for them to actually use their consciousness. The important goal to keep in mind is, so we see that uh, the Lord is offering, we see that the Lord is offering facilities in every yoga system also. The the principle of Karma Yoga is given in principles like universal like justice. But actually, principles of Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Bhakti Yoga also, the Lord gives facilities. Even though the living entity is not asking, the yogic practitioner is not asking, but the Lord is giving the facility. Facility the Lord is giving. And now the point is that, uh, so at best, all this is a concession. This is not the goal of yoga system. This is not the goal of yoga system. At best, it's a concession. That's what we have to understand. That okay, no, because of being materially conditioned, certain material factors, it may be intolerable to remain without certain material factors. So therefore, those factors are maybe a little bit given sometimes. Like if one does good service, sometime or the other one may get some glorification, some praise. It's not required. It is a bottleneck. It will choke us. But okay, because we are materially conditioned, sometimes because of lack of supply of these material factors, it may start suffocating. So sometimes the Lord will give little bit. Okay, fine. Set right your material factors. It's just like an itch. If somebody has a very bad itch, the medicine is given actually. Uh, the medicine is given to treat it, but it takes time. So therefore, then there are protocols which are given that. Therefore, there are protocols which are given that okay, if one has to itch, okay, then itch very softly. Don't itch with your nails. Even if you have to itch, take a cloth, very softly rub the cloth, like that. Softly move the cloth, like that. Or don't itch with the pointed ends, itch with the flat hand, little bit, softly. That's what demigod worship is all about, actually. It's not required. It's not at all needed. It's not required. But if one is just getting suffocated by it, then fine. One can do it with caution. One can do it with care. One can do it. One can do it carefully. Therefore, the principle of demigod worship we have to understand is at best a concession. The falashruti in any yogic path is at best a concession. Okay, it cannot be a fixity. It cannot be a goal. Then it will lose its purpose. The purpose is to help one uplift his vision. Once the vision is uplifted, you don't need that. Just like a walker is given to a child who doesn't have, whose legs don't have the strength to stand. The baby whose legs don't have the strength to stand, the legs, the muscles have not developed that much power. So the walker is given so that he can stand for a few seconds and whenever he is not able to stand, he can fall, but he will not fall because there is a seat bent down. So immediately he sits on the walker like that, and he has some support, and he can his legs are also getting tuned, and he is able to walk around with the walker. So the walker is just an uplifting principle for those who don't have that strength. A person need not cling on to walker that way. So in this same line, the Lord is explaining that therefore the Falashruti which the Vedas are also offering, okay, they are a very elite and pure way of it's a purified way, not a pure, but okay, a relatively purified way of uh, accessing material sense objects. But Prabhupada makes a point that there can be accidents even on royal roads. So the aspect of transcendental vision, what we understand here is that a sadhaka needs to be focused on the understanding that you know that my consciousness should not get hooked to material factors. Material factors are not needed. Okay, sometimes, so therefore, the point is that the minimal we take shelter of material factors to stand, the better it is. The minimal we take the shelter of material factors, the better it is. And whenever the material factor there also, I should understand it's just a cue to uplift me for some time, and then I don't have to you know uh, cling on to it, log on to it. So at best, it's a cue. Just like we don't cling on to a train or a plane, we just do the job and move forward like that. The job is that the consciousness should be focused on the spiritual energy. So here the Lord is explaining the important point that as long as the consciousness is fixed on material factors, one will not be able to develop fixity in the process of bhakti or in the process of yoga. In a generic sense also it is true. Why one will not be able to develop fixity? Because if the mind is hooked to the facilities which any process of yoga is giving, then if the facilities are not coming from the yoga process and they come from somewhere outside, one will run to that avenue as well. Like that. So therefore, this is very important principle. So therefore, if one so therefore, if one is sticking to Krishna consciousness just because, say, he can get, uh, say, because he was very badly beaten up in the material world, and he was thoroughly frustrated in this material world, and he was fried, and he was butchered and tortured, and therefore he came to Krishna consciousness. He got some breathing space. So if one is just taking to Krishna consciousness for that cause, he won't sustain for long. Because all he wants is breathing space. So, won't sustain for long because there is no positive attraction to Krishna. Fine, it is good as a cue. It is good as a uplifting, transient phase, but it cannot last for long. So that's the point, and that's what we can see uh, when that's what the Shastras explain. Like suppose in a family, if there is no in a relative or somebody dies, and everyone becomes a bit detached, everyone becomes a bit philosophical, everyone becomes a bit sober, everyone becomes a bit spiritual. Is it not? People don't mind chanting at that time. People don't mind somebody giving some katha at that time. Is it not? But just because it is just uh, no, so the obsession is no, the focus is not, but because the focus is what that okay, handling the turmoil. So the turmoil gone, the process gone. That's the point. So fixity will only come when we take our vision off the material factors, like that. So therefore, the point is that now, now the principle goes further. We can apply this principle in further aspects also. So why have we taken to Krishna consciousness? So now the point comes to that, okay, if we have taken to Krishna consciousness because so that we can get very, very clean, very clear, gentlemanly dealings, lot of care, warmth, reciprocation. We may not be able to move on further too much in Krishna consciousness because again the consciousness is very humble, very nice, gentle, loving dealings. So when that is not coming, then person will be shaken up. Therefore, Bhagavatam gives the factor. You can understand a devotee not by the qualities of tolerance, forbearance, politeness, but the main quality is Krishna Ekasharana. That he's serving Krishna. He may be an irritated fellow, but he's serving Krishna. So the point is, so that's the point. Now, practicing devotees do not, may not behave gently, politely, you know, in a warm way all the time. Sometimes, yes. All the time may not be because they're practicing sadhakas. Is it not? So now comes the point that if the consciousness was there, okay, very soft, very cozy, dealings, you know. So basically, we wanted to, sleep or rest or sit down in a very, in a sofa with having a big cushion actually, and we came to bhakti for that purpose. That's the point then, you know. So yes, it's a cozy cushion, Then your devotees, they are giving us space, to, so that we can, get a cozy cushion feeling, cushion feeling like that. The devotees may not give, is it not? So sometime yes, but all the time may not be the case. So then what we are going to do? Then we'll become a Ritvik. What we are going to do? Then we'll leave Krishna consciousness. Then what we are going to do? That's the point. We'll open our own temple. What are we going to do? No. So that is the principle actually. So therefore, the Lord is highlighting this principle that transcendental vision, the aspect of transcendental vision is that let me take my vision off the material factors. That is the transcendental vision which the Lord is pointing us to. Okay, when we were young in Krishna consciousness, we needed some warm dealing, some love, somebody to hear us, somebody to give us prasad, somebody to tolerate us. Fine. But we should understand that, okay, fine, but that was a cue. It is supposed to raise my consciousness to a higher end now. Is it not? That's the idea. That is the idea. Hmm? In that, which condition? Somebody doesn't? Yeah, so one has to understand that all this reciprocation business was a wrong expectation which I had fixed myself to. Ultimately, it's a material expectation. And if it is not getting fulfilled, it's okay. Because that is not the purpose of bhakti. The purpose of bhakti is the pleasure of Krishna and the acharyas. Is it not? The purpose of bhakti is my heart is getting purified, and at the end of it, I will be able to quit this material world. So we are trying to render some service to the Lord. Now, let me not get obsessed by the feelings that okay, I need very warm reciprocation, loving reciprocation. It won't happen. The punchline principle of this material world is it won't happen because this is material world. It's not going to happen. Nobody should misunderstand me, So that means, we didn't wanted Krishna, we wanted a sofa, with a cushion, like that, Yeah, yeah, like that. And we wanted the devotees to be like a gada, like that, And then you can press them, Hari Bol, Prabhuji, Prabhuji, And you can just jump up and down with that bungee jump is there, So we just wanted that actually. We didn't wanted Krishna, So, we wanted a bungee cushion, like that. So, so we wanted, so anybody, who meets us should always, pat us, glorify us, encourage us, give us warmth, give us love. So, now the point is that is the expectation. We have to question ourselves, which world am I living? Which world I am living in actually, We have to understand that. कौन सी सिंड्रेला वाली दुनिया में रह रहे हैं हम? Is it not? What kind of expectations we are having? So the point is we have to understand that this kind of material expectation is hooking me to this material world. I have to give this up. So that's the point. So somebody is warm with us, we can be grateful. But it won't become intolerable for us. That's why. It won't become intolerable for us. Because there are so many factors which are affecting everybody, is it not? No. So it's not that sometimes devotees develop such an attitude that okay, he should be always favoring me. So the time a person is encouraging, giving time, giving space, everything. Matlab he is giving a cushion space, like that, and we are able to jump in, like that, and we are peaceful. The moment he is not able to do that, poor fellow, then we say okay, this fellow is now not, this fellow is having some, different vision, some crooked vision, So like that, and we cut off. So the point is, no, so the point is that actually it's a problem in our vision. Actually, our vision is getting hooked to too much of material factors. So this whole principle, the transcendental vision, is that okay, fine, I'm suffocating. I may need to go to somebody who can give me some cushion. Fine. Okay, but we have to understand that okay, even if I am taking it, it is a cue actually. Krishna is arranging so that I can be a little peaceful. I can focus on service and the mission. That's the point. So that's the point actually, is it not? So even if one has to, and for one actually, your PC may, the power is not there. The power of the PC is about to go off. So one should not just take shelter of this bungee jump, Okay, even if one jumps for some time, one should come back and do some service also. Just don't keep bungee jumping, like that. That's the whole point. Yes. Towards others, Shastras are telling what should be our attitude. We can be as gentlemanly as possible, like that. At least we should not create trouble for others. That's a basic punchline principle. The basic punchline principle of Ishavasyan has to be applied. At least do not encroach upon others' right. And right to serve is everyone's right. We have no right to dampen anyone's enthusiasm. We have no right to stop anyone's service, to become a barricade in anyone's service. At least we should do that. That's the basic punchline principle. Like that. And to the degree we can invest positively, we can. To the degree we can offer service, to the degree we can invest, it's fine. So when you want to invest, so it even if we want to become a cushion cover for others, we won't be able to, because you need substance to do that. Like that. You need substance to do that. No. So at least we can be encouraging whatever we can, is it not? Like that. Like some devotees, we may deal only in once in few months, once in few years, but whenever you deal warmly. That's it. Is it not? Deal nicely, deal properly. Be conscious that let me have a positive dealing, not disturb the other person, not. Uh, so that's the idea. That is the idea. Text 13. Chaturvarnam maya shrishtam gunakarma vibhagashah tasya kartaramapi mam vidhi akartaramavyayam. According to the three modes of material nature and the work associated with them, the four divisions of human society are created by me. And although I am the creator of this system, you should know that I am yet the non-doer, being unchangeable. The Lord is the creator of everything. Everything is born of Him. Everything is sustained by Him. And everything after annihilation rests in Him. He is therefore the creator of the four divisions of social order, beginning with the intelligent class of men, technically called Brahmanas, due to their being situated in the mode of goodness. Next is the administrative class, technically called the Kshatriyas, due to their being situated in the mode of passion. The mercantile class, called the Vaishyas, are situated in the mixed modes of passion and ignorance, and the Shudras, or the laborer class, are situated in the ignorant mode of material nature. In spite of his creating the four divisions of human society, Lord Krishna does not belong to any of these divisions, because he is not one of those conditioned souls, a section of whom form human society. Human society is similar to any other animal society, but to elevate men from animal status, the above mentioned divisions are created by the Lord for the systematic development of Krishna consciousness. The tendency of a particular man towards work is determined by the modes of material nature which he has acquired. Such symptoms of life, according to different modes of material nature, are described in the 18th chapter of this book. A person in Krishna consciousness, however, is above even the Brahmanas. Although Brahmanas by qualities are supposed to know about Brahman, the supreme absolute truth, most of them approach only the impersonal Brahman manifestation of Lord Krishna. But a man who transcends the limited knowledge of a Brahmana and reaches the knowledge of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Sri Krishna becomes a person in Krishna consciousness, or in other words, a Vaishnava. Krishna consciousness includes knowledge of all different plenary expansions of Krishna, namely Ram, Narsimha, Varaha, etc. And as Krishna is transcendental to the system of the four divisions of human society, a person in Krishna consciousness is also transcendental to all the divisions of human society, whether we consider the different divisions of community, nation, or species. So, in this way, the Lord is establishing, or the Lord is establishing the point that therefore, uh, I have laid out, and I have laid out a systematic elevation system in which you can be in material factors, and through offering or by offering these material factors to me, get purified of material factors and come to me. That's what the Lord is focusing. So now many times, we hear both the opinions that uh, that the Varnashrama is a stepping stone. No doubt it's a stepping stone. We can say yes, Varnashrama is the way of ascending in, or intensifying one's Krishna consciousness. So some people say no, Varnashrama is not necessary. Bhakti yoga is all in all. So Varnashrama is only for, just like demigod worship is only for those who just cannot take it up. So whether it is necessary, not necessary, Bhakti yoga needs Varnashrama, not Varnashrama, you know. So that point is answered very clearly by our consciousness. If the consciousness is that okay, the the system allows me to engage in material factors, ha, you know, if that is the consciousness, then then actually the Varnashrama system, uh, uh, then the progress through the Varnashrama system is going to be very slow. Because if the person is happy doing his Varna and is happy that a signature has come from the Lord, then his progress is going to be slow. Because then he's going by the same track, the demigod track or the Vedas facilitation track, like that. But if the consciousness or the vision is that, okay, my psychophysical nature allows me to offer a certain service very nicely, therefore, primarily or in a default state, let me do it, while keeping myself open to any other kind of service whenever needed. So that is the consciousness. Then Varnashrama and Bhakti are not different from each other. So whether they are different from each other, whether there is separation between each other, or whether they are the same, depends on our consciousness. If we start relishing the material play around, and we just needed a signature, then yes, Varnashrama has a slow track and Bhakti Yoga was a different fast track. But if one understands, okay, I want to serve Krishna, now there can do any service for Krishna, but if I do this service, I know my mindset, my skill set, my psychophysical, my psychic strength will allow me to do this service in a powerful fashion. So by default, let me keep doing this. Anything else comes up, I'm ready for that. So this is in fact what is the difference between Daivi Varnashrama and Varnashrama. So Daivi Varnashrama is not something completely disjoint from Varnashrama only, but the consciousness is that I am open to any other kind of service also. If needed. I am ready for that if needed. Well, by default, because I can do this service better, I know that my astrology, my everything, my result report card, everything, my psychic test, everything says that, acknowledge that. Therefore, let me do that. At least some good service is happening to Krishna and I am engaged. That is my default state. Because the bhakti ensures, or bhakti talks about constant engagement. So first engage yourself constantly in where you can.